Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And this is another top 10 episode. This week, top 10 managers of all time. I'm your host, Andy Burrows. And as you can see, I'm joined by my illustrious co-hosts, Mr. Adam Cousins and Dave Robinson. How are you, boys? Dave, try not to get sacked on this one, mate.
Yeah, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy with some of my choices.
Adam, already. We've started already. We haven't even heard any of his
Well,
top 10
yeah. I've gone, as we were talking about earlier, I've gone with 10 managers that I've seen in my lifetime or my viewership. So I haven't listed any managers that I didn't see. So there's some big misses that will be on your list and Adam's list.
Well,
so you're going to be disgusted at times, but
it can't be any worse than the Undertaker at 7 last week.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Okay,
also, birthday pod. Hello.
Yes, many happy returns.
Happy
what is
birthday.
it? 45, 50? I don't know.
Phone.
55.
55?
39.
39. Oh, 1 year away.
Don't look a day over 38.
Okay, let's crack on with the
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Dave, come on then, mate. Let's start with you. Who have you got at number 10 of the greatest managers of all time?
Looking at my list now, I do need to preface this by saying I did it quickly, and again, you're not going to be happy. Honourable mentions first, lads. I've gone for my honourable mentions: Deborah, Regal, Arn Anderson, and MVP. On another day, they could have made their way onto my list, but
MVP would have made your top 10 managers. Adam, seriously, just P45. Put it in a post.
I enjoyed Lashley's little gang.
MVP.
The Hurt Business would be.
First business, yeah.
Yeah, they were. The whole title of this is all time.
Yeah. But he's not on it. He's missed out.
Honourable mentions. Okay, Dave, come on then. Who's number 10, mate?
We might get Montel. Montel, we might get him on one day, so be nice.
Okay, I'll try. I'll rein it in.
My number 10 is Lita.
Cool. Yeah.
I thought that was a good one.
S.A. Rios, Hardys.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking,
yeah.
Was she a manager? And I was like, well, yeah, she was. That's what she started doing. And then she started getting more involved and hitting moonsaults. And then she was in matches. But for a long time, or for a period of time, she was their manager. And obviously she was with Edge as well later on. So yeah, I've gone with
Lita. Kind
Lita.
of helped them win a lot of matches and all, didn't she, by getting it? That's how she kind of got involved in the whole, wrestling.
All started with S.A. Rios.
Yeah.
Before, obviously she was doing independence and stuff beforehand, but S.A. Rios was the first time we was introduced to her.
Was that on Heat? I'm sure it was on Heat.
Sunday Night Heat,
Yeah,
I think it was.
The good old Sunday Night Heat days. Oh, God, I miss them days. Bob, my name's not Bob. My name's It Doesn't Matter. Anyway, Adam, who have you got at number 10 and why, my friend?
Well, first up, again, I'll do Dave. You've done honourable mentions. So I've got honourable mentions. I've got Slick, Lou Albano.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Arnold Scotland. Freddie Blassie and Elizabeth are all in my honourable mentions.
Elizabeth's only an honourable mention.
Yes. So my 10 is a good old-fashioned ECW guy, Bill Alfonso.
Oh,
we've
gone old school.
Yeah, he was fucking annoying with the whistle, but he could also. you see the match he had. I think it was with Bula. He absolutely got pasted and was peeing out with blood. That was an easy way to do it. But yeah, I just thought he was again. When you look at ECW and you look at there is maybe a couple more ECW managers to come in my list, but he was great.
He was with RVD, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah, Taz as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say Taz, weren't he, with Taz?
Sabu as well.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, no, good one. My honourable mention then, Paul Ellering from the Legion of Doom. And because I liked him when he was purely with this gentleman, I put the $1 Million Man in when he was with Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
When he was with Andre the Giant, that whole, he pretty much, I don't know if it's to do with an injury or what it was, but they put the $1 Million Man with Andre the Giant, and I know it led into the stuff at SummerSlam and him buying the belt, and I absolutely loved it. But for number 10 for me, I've put the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Oh, as
I
low
don't
as
think.
10.
You'll see why. But I when I was compiling this list, I was like, oh, it should be higher. But I wanted to get him in, but when I looked at my list, I was like, "Oh, yeah, he needs to go there. He can't." Yeah, and I've done this purely on the era that I grew up with.
Mhm.
A bit like, a bit like that. I haven't put MVP in there, but
Neither have I. Neither
honorable
have
mentions.
I.
Sorry, honorable mentions. But yeah, for me, Jimmy Hart, he when people, we all
Mhm.
say this, when non-wrestling people, everyone knows
Yeah.
who Jimmy Hart, and now he's still doing it now with Hogan. He's done, he cuts promos on Twitter, and he's at the beach shop, and yeah. So for me, mate. Jimmy Hart in at number 10.
Cool.
Dave, a number 9, my friend, enlighten me. Pray tell, who have you chosen?
Well, it's another lady. I've actually got 5 men and 5 women, just purely
Nice.
by accident. But yeah, it's a 50-50 split. My number 9 is Marlena Stroke
Oh,
Terry.
yes.
Good
Not forgot
choice
that.
with
Good
gold
choice.
dust.
You've redeemed
Yeah.
yourself a bit there,
You
Dave.
have. You pulled it back a little bit, Dave.
And she might be coming on soon, hopefully, all
Well, you
being well.
definitely
So yeah,
pulled it
but
back.
she would have been on it anyway.
Yeah, no, great choice, mate. I thought she was very underrated with Gold
Yeah.
Dust.
Yeah.
And wasn't she part of that whole Playboy-ish, like, wasn't it Sable, her and Sonny that all done, weren't they the 3 that kicked it off, or was it
I
just
don't
Sable
think
and
Terry
Sonny?
did Playboy.
Was it Sable and Sonny there? I remember that whole
Yeah.
big boom about it. It was like, people were going absolutely crazy. I know it was around that time
Yeah.
era, but no, good choice, mate. Good choice. Adam, and number 9, who have we got?
You mentioned him in your honourable mentions, Paul Ellering.
Mate, I wanted to get, but when I looked at my list, oh, what a manager.
He was a great manager for LOD. It didn't quite work with Authors of Pain like it should have done. I think that
They
was.
tried to reinvent.
Yeah, I mean,
LOD.
it worked in NXT, but I think he only made one appearance on Raw, which was the introduction, and then you never saw him again. Or maybe it was just because of the.
Wasn't
They
he the
sacked him,
LOD
didn't they?
manager when they reinvented LOD? It was Hawk. No, it was Animal and. Remember
Dross.
they reinvented Legion of Doom, and Paul Ellering was a
Yeah,
manager.
I mean, obviously he come out on in '92 on the Harleys at SummerSlam as well. So, but yeah, I think great manager, and hopefully you never know, he could maybe make another appearance soon.
I
Like
think
not on here, but like in terms of managers.
if memory serves, I think the Authors of Pain sacked him, and didn't Rockstar Spud or Drake Maverick come out with the Authors of Pain for a while?
He
I
did.
think he
And there
did.
was a bit of a strange end to his run, wasn't it,
Yeah.
Paul Ellering?
So you've gone
good
from the
choice.
AEW guru to the knowledge of WWE, Dave.
Oh, I've got it.
Up there
I'm
for
a
thinking, down there for dancing.
dark
Yeah,
horse.
he's a very dark horse. No, good choice, mate. Good choice. My number 9. I'm not, Adam. I know you're a huge fan of this guy, and if he comes on the podcast, I will be delighted. But for me, number 9 is Jim Cornette. Sorry, he's so low. I knew you wouldn't be very popular. I don't. I had to have him in there because he was a very he transitioned from manager to. I know one day we might get down to doing the top 10 commentators of all time. People forget that he was on Raw for ages. He done a lot for WWE, obviously ECW. But for me, yeah, Jim Cornette. He'll go down in wrestling history. I'm not his biggest fan. I mean, any podcast that goes on for 2 hours and 45 minutes has got me switching off after like in 28 of them minutes. I like the guy. I think he's a bit like what we said when we interviewed Russo. He's Marmite. You either love him or hate him. I love Russo. I don't like Cornette. So I think maybe I've not been brainwashed by Russo. When I listen to Russo interviewed about Cornette, and when you hear Cornette interviewed about Russo, it's kind of like, but he's got to be in there for me in the top 10. So I put him in.
Well,
I
that's
can
Jim Cornette and not coming on the podcast.
Let's see how many
considered
people
him.
we won't get on this show.
I considered him, but that's more because of listening to his podcast and on commentary. I didn't really see him too much as a manager, so
I just think he comes across as Adam, you might know more than me. I listen to his podcast every now and again. He's just bitter 24/7. It's like, dude, can you not be happy about anything that wrestling do?
You are right. I mean, he is definitely Marmite. He is definitely, but I like Russo and I like Cornette. Look, they're polar opposites in terms of, that's why Cornette blames Russo for breaking kayfabe and doing all that sort of stuff with wrestling. And he legitimately, because Cornette was all about keeping it real, to a degree. Like, you don't travel together, you don't do this, you don't expose the business. That's why he was that's why he was so pissed with, Shawn Michaels ever doing a curtain call. And stuff like that, because it exposed the business. So he's very much Marmite. I think I've got all of these U shoots and kayfabe commentaries that he's done with Sean Oliver upstairs, and they are gold. the other good thing about him is he's got that memory, a bit like Shane Douglas, where he can tell you where the fucking toilet is in the arena that you're talking about something, and he can say, well, the vending machine was over there, the toilet was over there, he was in this room, I was in over here. So through his mind and stuff. But yeah, he is Marmite for sure.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. Dave, let's move on to number 8, my friend. Who have you got at 8 and why? Pray tell.
Okay, my number 8, he did spend time as a general manager, but prior to that, he was a manager for the NWO. So I've gone for Mr. Eric Bischoff at number 8.
Interesting.
He's in my list. I'm not going to say where.
Yeah.
I was going to message you guys saying, can we put him in because he manager?
I didn't put him in.
Part of the NWO. I'll go into more detail when I say where he's in my list. There's a reason I put him where I put him in my list. But Dave, I think that is a very underrated choice. I won't go into too much detail now because I'll do it in a little bit when we get to where he is in my list.
I'll let you. You can speak more about it.
He's no, great choice, mate. Great choice. Adam, who have you got at 8, mate?
Next ECW, I've got Francine, the Queen of Extreme. Again, someone that wasn't afraid to
say it as it is.
If you think about, the WWE had Sunny, ECW had Francine, and I know Sunny did go into ECW. She'd had a spell in there with Candido, but she was literally the woman's face of that company. And again, she wasn't afraid of getting in there and getting her ass kicked. But yeah, she's in there. She's number 8, and yeah, I haven't got nothing to say about it. She's just the Queen of Extreme.
Could have done the greatest ECW managers. They've had some absolute belters. Number 8 for me is Miss Elizabeth.
Okay, yeah.
When I think of, when I, as soon as you think of, and we said when in our group chat earlier, it seems to be if you're going through most of our list, obviously Dave's maybe from a little slightly different era.
Yeah,
I'm not going to have many modern in this list because it seems to be a very just briefly. It seems to be a very olden day thing where the managers were in especially in the WWF. They had loads of them back in the day.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's not so much now? Is it just the era that we're in? We've moved on. We've got an advocate. We've got we haven't really got we've got a wise man, an advocate. We haven't really got managers, quote unquote. So obviously we haven't got to the rest of your guys' list yet. I'm guessing there's not going to be many modern in there.
No, not really. But I think Renee Michelle said it the other week when we had her on. She was like, there needs to be more. There isn't. It's like a bit like tag team wrestling. It's a forgotten art, in a lot of cases, especially. And there isn't really any around nowadays, is it? You might have the odd valet like Scarlett, carrying across as Scarlett, and Job Rowe have BFAB and people like that.
It seems to be tag team partners accompany each other to the ring now.
Yeah.
It seems to be the way we're going when they're in a singles match. Oh, Bailey's accompanying so-and-so to the ring.
Yeah.
So one of the Usos is Jay's accompanying Jimmy to the ring if he's in a singles match. That's kind of the route we're going now.
Managers are so effective because they can get involved with a match and they can help whoever they're managing win. But even the guy that loses, because it's outside interference from the manager, it doesn't hurt their credibility too much either. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely underused and would 100% like to see more.
Yeah, no, definitely. Dave, number 7, my good man.
Talking to Marmite. My number 7 is Vicky Guerrero.
Oh, I forgot all about her.
Yeah, I know. Now the excuse me is probably, it's done. It's probably
great
a bit
shout.
But I thought at the time she was an absolute heat machine.
She was.
The booing of her and, how she helped Edge and she was with Dolph, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And I just thought she was a great manager. Obviously, she came in after Eddie passed.
Yeah.
And then for her to be able to get involved and be such a great character for so long, I really did think she deserved a spot on the top 10.
Yeah, good number 7. Now. Good number 7, my friend. Adam, gutted you may be, but who have you got in at number 7?
Sherry Martel. Macho Man when he was, when it was the feud of Elizabeth, she was with Michaels. I think she went with Angle at one point during the feud of Michaels, and then she's
one of the greatest theme tunes ever.
Harlem Heat, she's done. Yeah, she was with Harlem Heat for a while as well. And again, someone else that wasn't available. Someone else that wasn't bothered about getting stuck in.
Good choice, mate. Good choice. My number 7 is probably if not the greatest wrestling pinup of all time, must be close to being the greatest wrestling pinup of all time. Sunny.
Yeah.
You can't mention wrestling managers without mentioning her. It's a shame to see what's happened to her in a later on in life. And I say that for a lot of wrestlers when you see them, because you grew up watching them and we seem to forget that they have a life outside of wrestling. She's kind of gone down a path that, you know, it's not ideal. She's obviously had loads of issues with DUI. She's been involved with the law, made a porno. I mean, yeah, Jesus. I mean, but for me, Attitude Era, you know, the Body Donners, when it first?
Yeah, Body Donners was
Body
the
Donners. That she was LOD, managed them.
Yeah.
Managed Legion of Doom. So for me, yeah, number 7, you got to have Sunny in there, man. She was just everywhere. There ain't a lad who watched wrestling growing up in the Attitude Era that didn't run out and buy the Raw magazine when she was on the front cover in her swimsuit. Anyway, Dave, let's get into the top 6, mate. Who you got and why?
Number 6 for me, we've already mentioned that, but Miss Elizabeth. I think she really changed things for managers. She was really, you know, I think she was like influential when she came in.
No, nothing much to be said. Ads, number 6, mate.
You've already mentioned him, Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
Hogan. You know, you say he's still doing it today. Wasn't afraid to use the megaphone.
I saw him on Twitter with it the other day.
Yeah, wasn't afraid to hit people over the head with it, and he was the top manager. And you know, from when I was growing up, he was one of the mainstays. I mean, the only one I've just come into my head was, do you remember General Adnan from Silent Slaughter?
Jesus Christ!
Forgot about that, but it just brought it back.
Been waving the flag at WrestleMania. Yeah, against Hulk Hogan. No, good choice. My number 6, very briefly, Vicky Guerrero. So many things. I mean, if we hopefully touch wood, all being well, we're going to get her on our show. Just so many things I can remember her for, you know what I mean? But I think it come up on something on WWE Network the other day, that segment that she done with The Rock when he was playing the guitar is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen. But yeah, I think what she's done for the wrestling business is so underrated. I think she flies under the radar a lot, especially when she was general manager of SmackDown. Some of the greatest segments I think I've ever seen, ever. I thought she was brilliant. So, for me, number 6, Vicky Guerrero. So let's get into our top 5, boys. Come on then, Dave. Hit us with your top 5. I'm looking forward to and dreading this.
Number 5, Jimmy Hart. So I should be pretty safe with that one.
No, you're safe, yeah.
And I saw a lot of him in WCW when I really got into that. And he was a heel. And he was an absolute prick. Yeah, you hated him. You know, he was there with his megaphone. He was so irritating. He'd get involved in matches. He was a proper like chicken shit heel, and he'd just run off. But played such a great role, and obviously everything he did with Hulk Hogan, and you know, back in the 80s as well, which I've seen clips of. So
Beefcake as well with Brutus.
Beefcake
for a while. Quite a while. He was with Beefcake. Mate, he's incredible. Ads, number 5 for you, buddy.
You've already mentioned him earlier, Marmite, Jim Cornette. I mean,
I knew it'd be high on your list.
He was. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, he was a chicken shit heel as well, but my God, could he be? He could get into match. He didn't care about getting color. Sometimes when he whacked that racket over someone's back, it was like one of Gunther's chops.
Yeah.
You know, the noise it made. But yeah, I mean, he can be an annoying shit as a heel manager as well. And again, he would be on the commentators list for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Number 5 for me, very briefly, already mentioned Sensational Sherry. Shawn Michaels, everything else, just tremendous. Like you say, what we got involved in matches, cost people matches, can cut a great promo as well, by the way. Very underrated for her promos. If anyone watched a lot of in the late 80s, early 90s, some of her promos, especially with Shawn Michaels, were really, really good. And, you know, again, another one gone too soon from here, you know what I mean? But yeah, for me, Sherry got to be in the top 5. Number 4, young David.
Okay, my top 4, we haven't mentioned any of them, so these are all fresh. I've gone with Don Callis at number 4. And I deliberated over that one because it's only been in the past couple of years. He's done more in AEW with the Elite, and obviously now with Takeshita. He gets massive reactions. But I thought we're talking all time. But then as I've thought about him some more, he was the Jackal, wasn't he? And he was Cyrus the Virus in ECW.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been around a long time. And, you know, I think the most popular management role has been his recent one. But yeah, I decided to put Don at number 4. I think he's I like to hear him on the on commentary as well.
Great
And when he's
commentary, him and
interviewed,
Mike.
whenever he's on Busted Open as well, he stays in character, and I like that as well. So, yeah, Don Callis for me.
Good choice, mate. Good choice. So far, you got a job next week. Adam, number 4, my friend.
I'm in an RM whether to try and do number 4's gimmick, but I'm going to refrain from it. I don't want Munzie to put it up as a short. It's Paul Bearer.
Oh, well, might as well do my number 4 then, because it's exactly the same.
Oh, yes. There you go. You can do it. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, Undertaker, Kane, Foley, others in other organizations, of course, as well. But he was just amazing. He played it. I mean, I know that was his job before.
Yeah, it helped that he was an Undertaker.
It was an Undertaker. It was helped that he was one of those guys he was a pallbearer, wasn't he? He was one of literally, he was his name.
Yeah.
It's just so the fact that he done the job outside of wrestling, and you can bring your job into this job, makes him, and he was perfect. He was perfect. I don't think he didn't not suit any of those as a man.
Yeah, I liked it when he was with Kane and he come out in the red suit when the Kane returned on Monday Night Raw.
Was that when they was all kicking off in the ring?
Yeah, Stephanie was like, Tori, get over here. It's Kane. Yeah, so Paul Bearer's my number 4 as well. Exactly the same reasons that Adam's just given. He nearly was very much higher on my list, but the top 3 for me, they really stand out. So, Dave, let's get into your top 3, buddy. Top 3 managers of all time. Here we go. This should be interesting. Dave, who's at number 3 and why?
Number 3, I've gone with China. No? Not having that one?
Managers. DX. Did she manage DX?
I thought she was
hired
part of game changer.
Part
yeah.
of DX, wasn't she?
No, for a long time she was Triple H's.
She was Triple H's manager.
But she just stood there doing that.
Yeah. An enforcer.
Me and Adam can do that.
I don't know. I think you're discrediting her. I think she did.
China probably had bigger balls than me anyway. But yeah.
That one ain't gone down well.
No, hey, mate, it's your choice. This is why we do these lists.
I just thought her role in DX. You know, you had the Outlaws, you had X-Pac, you had Triple H, you had Shawn Michaels, and you had this. I don't know, the powerhouse or the enforcer was China. She didn't speak. She stood there. She looked menacing. She got involved with matches. And obviously, she went on and had her own career herself. But I thought China and DX was a big part of their success.
Hey, mate, it's your list. You can put in who the hell you want. Ads, who have you stuck in at number 3? Greatest managers of all time.
Mr. Fuji. Mainly for Yokozuna. More than anything else, God rest Yokozuna as well. God rest his son. I think Fuji's passed away now, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to say last year. Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that long ago.
A couple of years ago, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, so he was, he was a great manager, and he obviously manages others. But I fondly remember him as Yokozuna. I think he managed the Heart Foundation at one point. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Or Demolition.
Demolition, I want to say. I think it's Demolition. It was Demolition. Yeah, it wasn't the Heart
Anyway.
Foundation.
Fantastic.
No, yeah. No, good choice. But I should have put him in my honorable mentions. Actually, I had him down, but I didn't, for whatever reason, didn't write it. But no, great choice, mate. Great choice. My number 3, we got into it earlier, is Eric Bischoff of the NWO. I think without that Eric Bischoff, half the thing we know during the Attitude Era don't become things. He was kind of the first man to really call out Vince McMahon live on TV. He started the whole, well, let's get DX going and let's get the invasion going and he started all that by literally bringing up WWF superstars, Vince McMahon. He started all that on live TV, and it was new back then in Nitro. Everyone was like, oh. Now you've got things like Forbidden Door, and they say it all the time. And CM Punk's done references, and MJF's done references to WWE guys. But back then, when Eric Bischoff first took the reins of the NWO, when it was the original NWO, oh my God, I one of the best ever to do it. And he kind of kicked down the door and broke barriers down. Because without him and without the NWO, you haven't got DX, you haven't got a Monday Night Wars. I don't think that was the Monday Night War. It was the NWO versus the WWF, Stone Cold and DX, really. And then I know the Undertaker and Foley and all that, but if it wasn't for Eric starting the NWO and rolling that thing out, I don't think we have half the fun with the Monday Night Wars.
It will be interesting when we have Buff on to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what he thinks about. Does he think how big a role did Eric and the NWO play in the Monday Night Wars, because and you know, often asked, in like we talk about things like Hogan nearly didn't become the third man. It was nearly
Sting.
going to be Sting. Could you
Yeah.
imagine what the wrestling landscape would have looked like if it was Sting? So there's so many. Yeah, honestly, I know we've got Buff Bagwell on later this week. So for me, lads, number 3 is Eric Bischoff, mate.
I remember Bischoff because it was when Raw was pre-recorded and Nitro was live.
Gave away all
Yeah,
the
the
results.
results.
He stood in the ring reading the results, and you're like, "What a prick!"
But he made everyone turn over to see Mick Foley win the world title.
Yeah, that was Shivani, wasn't it?
That was Shivani.
Yeah,
Yeah,
him and
got up
Shivani.
to
And I
watch
could
the
just see
seats.
Eric Bischoff going. And do you know one of the good things about Eric Bischoff? He said if he had known that DX were at the door of the arena, because he was in the ring cutting a promo at the time, had he known that they were there, he would have let them in.
Yeah.
Could
Also,
you imagine the
if they got on
TV that would have
yeah,
created?
everyone would have come over.
There's-
Oh, it would have been absolutely gold.
I absolutely loved the NWO. I hated Bischoff. I hated him. He was so irritating and annoying, but he was just doing his job really well, wasn't he? You know,
I'd love to see him back involved in wrestling. Honestly, I've read his book. I listened to his podcast with Conrad. Inside the Ropes, he's coming over here to do a tour. The guy, wrestling. I know AEW used him for a bit. WWF have tried to have him as a writer at the same time as Paul Heyman. Somehow, this man's got to be involved in the business, in my opinion, because I think he's tremendous. Right, lads, top 2. Here we go. Dave, number 2.
my number 2, Paul Bearer. And I know you lads have already spoke about him a bit, but I'll just mention when he came back with The Undertaker. Undertaker's last big return when he came back as the Dead Man, when he came back as the original Undertaker. And when he came out and Paul Bearer was there with him, behind him with the urn, it was just like the finishing touch. It was just the cherry on top of the cake when he was there. And I thought he played a great role, particularly through the Attitude Era. So, yeah, he's right up there for me.
Great shout. Come on in, ads. Who we got at number 2?
Paul Heyman.
Oh, I know your number 1 is.
You know my number 1.
Mate. Yeah, great shout.
I mean, Paul Heyman. Oh, look what he's done. Started off with, I mean, he was Lesnar's manager for Christ knows how long, and now he's adapted. He's a role of an advocate or a special counsel or a wise man. For Roman Reigns, but it is everything. He doesn't. He's the type of manager we were talking about, saying that chicken shit managers and stuff like that. With him, it's all about the mouth and his facial expressions. I mean, I think you mentioned it, Dave, on the SmackDown, or you mentioned it on a review that we done, that his facial expressions as a manager for Paul Heyman is,
doesn't need to talk, does he?
But when he does, he always. I think he said it. He said it on the Inside the Ropes tour. He said something like, if you can get a sort of a grasp of a promo where you can shoot enough so that you can say enough that people know that it's still not like scripted, but he leaves the seed of doubt because he shoots and says something that will say, hang on a minute, I know this is scripted, but he shouldn't have said that. You grasp that audience and you bring them in, and that's what sells the tickets. I think he was talking about when he done that shoot promo on Vince on SmackDown. When he was, so for me,
yeah. So it's like the story he told about the Undertaker's streak going, and he was like, "Was that meant to happen?" And but he done it so well. I could see everyone. I've seen it on YouTube. I don't know if you were there, Adam, when he done the Inside the Ropes.
No,
you could see everyone in the audience going, "Hang on a minute, maybe the Undertaker wasn't actually meant to lose," and Brock Lesnar just thought, "Fuck it, I'm beating him anyway." Paul Heyman done it in such a way, and he went, "I'm not saying anything, but did he actually mean?" And he delivered it where you're kind of like thinking, "Shit. Maybe the Undertaker didn't mean to lose at WrestleMania." But yeah, great choice, mate. Number 2 for me is the great Bobby Heenan. Yeah, it was honestly, I toyed with 1 and 2. You can probably guess who my number 1 is now. The fact that I put Bobby Heenan at number 2, pure genius. We're going to get into our commentators at a later date. I can tell you now, he's in my top 3. Absolutely, for what he done for the business, and everyone he managed was tremendous. And throughout the 80s, there probably wasn't someone that he didn't manage, and he was up for anything. You'd see him in bunny suits, when he was with Mr. Perfect. For me, though, genius.
Yeah.
Absolute. The man is an actually, and again, it's sad to see the way that he departed the world. You know what I mean? He got ill, but for me, his mind, everything about him, he just got. There's people that get the wrestling business. He got the wrestling business, and I just thought the man was an absolute genius.
Yeah. I didn't really see much of his managerial run. When I got into WCW, he was a commentator, and he was one of the reasons I got hooked so quick.
Yeah.
It was definitely on my commentator's top 10.
Ah,
100%.
mate, yeah. I just no, this,
Um,
this is a spoiler for when we do that. Mate, it's going to be
So funny as well. You laugh out loud, funny, not just
yeah.
like snigger. Like he'd say
Yeah,
some
some of
really
the stuff
funny
that he
stuff.
got up to on the side of the ring, his backstage skits were honestly, if you haven't seen any Bobby Heenan, go on the WWE, go on YouTube, just type in Bobby Heenan moments, and you'll be sitting there for hours. Dave, come on then. Who for you is the greatest wrestling manager of all time?
His name is Paul Heyman, which is strange to me because we've got all these managers and a lot of them are from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and we're saying there's not really any good managers left other than Heyman. But I just think he's head and shoulders above. I think he's a genius, to be honest. I think he's an absolute genius. This bloodline story that we rant and rave about, and will continue to do so for a long time yet, he's the architect of that. I know there's others working on it, and Roman's involved himself, but I guarantee the major input has been put in from Paul Heyman. Everything with Brock Lesnar as well. He made Brock Lesnar an absolute superstar. Brock hadn't even wrestled a match, to begin. We've all faced anybody of any
CM Punk for a while as well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
CM Punk for a while in WWE.
Yeah. But, he made Lesnar feel like a top star before he'd done anything. And then, he was impressive. He was a big athlete. You could tell he was good. But yeah, Heyman is his mouthpiece. And then for everything that he's gone on to do, he's my number one.
Great shout. Purely because I've chose the same, Dave. And before we get to Adams, I've gone Paul Heyman as well. Pretty much for all the reasons that we said. The man is an absolute genius. Everything he touches, I'm watching. Everything, he's with Lesnar, whether he's Punk, back in the ECW days. If you go back and watch the ECW documentary, he's down in his basement at his mum's ironing board cutting promos. His mind for the business started pretty much when he come out the womb. I've rewatched the Inside the Ropes tour that he done. They posted it online. I was obsessed with that. But he ever comes back over, does anything over here, I'm going, because I could literally listen. If Conrad Thompson's doing another podcast, please do one with Paul Heyman, because I just think you'll have years worth of stories. You'll have absolute years. His mind, like you say, with Brock Lesnar, he was such a badass. Brock didn't need to talk, and he still come across as a badass because of the promos that Paul Heyman cut.
Yeah.
And he was very underrated with CM Punk. Absolutely very. So when that Lesnar Punk feud happened for a little while, I thought it was brilliant because you had the whole, Paul Heyman, tremendous, mate, tremendous. For me, he is the greatest wrestling manager of all time. Mr. Cousins, sir, hit us. Who's number one and why?
You already had him. Bobby Heenan is number one. Yeah, we'll talk commentate. We're talking about his commentary as well in another episode that he will be in my top three, I think, as well for that. Just one of the funniest lines. It wasn't even funny. It's just one he said, Hulk Hogan is my second favorite theme. All the rest are tired. And it's just the deliverance of the line. It was that thing. But from a manager's perspective, he was a chicken shit manager. I remember that thing with the Ultimate Warrior when he was in the weasel suit.
It was brilliant, mate.
It was,
that was on WWF Superstars, wasn't it?
It was on something. I remember having a video of it. And
yes. I think the Ultimate Warrior was on the cover. I think
probably, yeah. He was on the video, and he was knocked unconscious, and Warrior put him in the suit, and he woke up and he was chasing.
And he was running around, chasing his tail around the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
But again, he didn't mind getting stuck in. He was still trying to grab
bumps, didn't he?
Yeah, he took bumps. He took some big bumps. And
did he wrestle
prior
to?
Yeah, he was. There's a documentary about him on YouTube. It's really good. It shows him in his younger days as a wrestler. And he's another one. He's another Heyman. I think he just come out and like I said earlier, when people get the business, that's what Paul Heyman gets the wrestling business. He doesn't see it as fake wrestling. He gets the business. He gets the promo side of it. He gets the stuff with the facials, like you guys are saying. He gets, Bobby Heenan was exactly the same. Gorilla Monsoon, all these people, all these greats that you talk of, they all got, and people get the wrestling business. And when you've got that, that's like that. In my opinion, that's half the battle, lads. I don't know.
He improves everybody he works with, even if they're pretty good to begin with, like Sami Zayn. The Usos, what he's done with Jey Uso, how he's come on. Heyman is pivotal to improving were already fantastic wrestlers and wrestlers that could cut great promos, and he still gets more out of them. He squeezes absolutely the last drip out of them. So I just think, yeah, he's head and shoulders for me.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping Triple H is leaning on him at the moment, big time in everything
Yeah.
that they're doing, everything across the board. You know what I mean? But lads, another top 10 is in the books. Dave, you've kept your job for another week, actually. Well done.
Yeah, it was only the one you didn't like.
You've
I
done
kind of
actually.
justified it a little bit, but
Yeah, no, you don't. No, it's your list, mate. It's your list. You can come back again next week.
Thank you.
Adam, always a pleasure, my friend. Never a chore. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go and check us out on all social media, as we say. We are on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Have I missed any? Twitter.
I should have been doing what?
Yeah,
what? I'm going to do that next time.
Next
my
time.
opportunity.
That would have been a great short as well. But lads, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back again later this week. We've got some great interviews come up. But I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my two good friends and amazing co-host, David Robinson and Mr. Adam Cousins. Till next time, everybody, buckle down. Stay safe.